Well, let's move to Prime Minister Anthony Albanese today. His address at the National Press Club, and interesting, he's talking up reform. So where does that end up?
Well, yeah, and where is the reform? So he was put on the spot by yourself in terms of whether he is going to engage in big reform in order to tackle the $1 trillion debt. You've got to think tax reform with that one. Anthony Albanese, for the moment, sticking with saying growing the economy is the way forward to pay off that debt and deficit.
Prime Minister, at the weekend you said that you don't want to look back and wish you had a crack. You said a similar sentiment today in the speech. Asked, do you fear failure? You said, no, I fear not trying. Can I ask you on the reform side of things, our country's facing huge costs, NDIS, aged care, talk of another 28 joint strike fighters. Are you going to have a crack at the reform necessary to pay for all that?
It's a good question, and it's one that government will have to address, of course, over a period of time. One of the things we're going through with the ERC process in the lead up to the budget in October is the fiscal position that we have inherited. Our plan is a growth agenda. It is unashamedly pro-business, but it's also unashamedly pro-workers.
To me, this exchange highlights the problem with Australian politics. To get elected, you can't promise too much reform. Having been elected, not to change things much. To get re-elected, you feel you are unable to change things too much. Then it becomes a choice as to whether you go to a second election with a mandate to do reform. And not many governments believe they can survive doing that. The last time it worked was with John Howard and GST in 1998. And although he won the election, he lost the popular vote. Well, today's PM also made clear again, despite calls from the crossbench and the Greens that he should change and drop the stage 3 tax cuts, that he plans to continue with them. But he gave himself a little bit of wriggle room later on in terms of their structure.
Parliament made a decision to legislate those tax cuts, and we made a decision that we would stand by that legislation rather than relitigate it, and we haven't changed our opinion.
I just wanted to know whether that was an ironclad rolled gold promise, or are there any circumstances whatsoever that you can envisage in this term of government doing anything at all that would resemble repealing of those stage 3 tax cuts? We
stand by the comments that we made.
So there's no chance?
We stand by the comments that we made. But we face, of course we face real challenges. That's a reality of the fiscal position that we inherited.